Hey everyone, this is Tracy Friedlander. You're listening to Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. Hey there, and welcome to this mini-series, Your Career Evolution and the Power of an Audience. Here we are at the end of May 2020, and things have obviously changed dramatically in the last few months. Every musician has had their livelihood in the form of performance taken away from them in the blink of an eye. But so many musicians are currently making changes in the way that they do what they do, from teaching Zoom lessons online to playing live stream concerts and so much more. As everyone looks to the future, there are always a lot of questions for your career. My stance has always been about the starting line. What can you do now to build for the future? Maybe you know what you want to do to create income, and maybe you don't quite know yet. Maybe you're considering how to expand what you do now, like reaching more people for your online teaching or performing efforts. And many people have ideas I never would have thought of, and the proof is in the pudding. Look at the numerous people I've interviewed over the years who have created unique and extraordinary careers out of the ideas as unique as their own personalities. The reason I had these 3 short interviews was to give you a peek into the power of building an audience, sharing who you are online in your own way, and how that can evolve your career and create new opportunities. Today's interview is with Jenna Dingle, an oboe soloist, orchestra player, and reed-making genius. Jenna was on my podcast way back in the first season, as she was one of the first people I ever knew to have an actual business. She makes reeds, and she's been selling reeds for over 20 years. Jenna worked with me in my program last fall and launched her program, the Invincible Oboist, a 10-week online program, and she's currently launching it again. In my program, she was able to create this income stream and not only pay herself back for the investment she made into my program, but she tripled her investment. She could not have done that without the audience she had already built, which is why I had her on the show today. Because of all this, I want to support you in doing this for yourself. So I'm inviting you right now to join my upcoming 5-day free challenge, From Onstage to Online Empire. Each day of this challenge, you're going to learn how to mine out your authority that leads to more opportunities both online and offline. You're going to learn the words to use and not use to build authority in your platform. And you're going to experience the real secret sauce to creating an engaged audience that loves you. I'd love to have you there. The sign-up link is in the show notes. Let's get started. Oh my gosh, so welcome everybody who's here live. Welcome if you're coming later. This is so great. I'm so happy to have my good friend Jenna Dingle. Welcome, Jenna.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. So the reason why we're going live today to talk is you have built an amazing career and business, and a big portion of what you do now that we're not working and performing and everything, a big part of what you do is online, and a big part of that is because you built this big audience. And actually, I feel like what's cool about your audience is it's not like tens of thousands of people, but it's a targeted, like, specific audience for exactly who would want what you offer. So that's, I think what's so cool about that is that to show that, wow, you don't need like numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers. You just need like the right people around you. So
yeah, I love my audience. I just feel like I've been for the longest time, I was building my audience really slowly and non-intentionally and sort of fitfully, and really just like putting stuff out that I liked. And as the more intentional I began to get about it, the more I realized that there are people out there who really are my people, who, like, when I talk about the things that interest me, they are interested too.
Yeah.
And the more I've been the more I've realized that, and the more I'm able to just like talk directly to these people out there and assume that what I like, they're going to also like. Like, maybe it's not always true, but it's true often enough that the people who genuinely don't like what I like have gone away and aren't following me anymore. So
And
that
that's
the people
okay,
who
right?
are left, it's great.
Right. Jenna,
It's
so
great.
tell everybody, first I want to say, hey, welcome everybody if you're joining live, and if you're watching later, welcome again. Go ahead and say hi in the comments. I'd love to see who's here. I think there's like a little button you can press that allows your name to come through StreamYard. So if you're here live, say hi. Hey, David.
Hey, David.
Yay, thank you. So Jenna, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and like your page, and what you do on your Facebook page and on Instagram and YouTube too. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Everything. So I'm an oboist, and like everybody, I started as a performing oboist, and I'm still a performing oboist, although not, this minute, because we're all locked down. And I'm an oboist, and I make reeds, and I make reeds for other people. I've been building a reed business for a really, really, really long time. Again, first fitfully and as a side hustle, and then much more intentionally as I realized that there was actual money in it, helpful money in it. Lord, there's so many parts of this question, Tracy. Help me to focus again.
So you have a Facebook. Did you start on Facebook building your audience there first? Or was it YouTube first?
It was neither of those, actually. I think it was a blog that I started right after my daughter was born. Because I never slow down, right? I'm busy all the time. And so up until my daughter was born almost 11 years ago, I was just focused on playing the oboe and, fulfilling orders with my reeds. And I had a website.
Started a reed business in like
way a million years ago, in like 1998. Yeah.
And by the way, Jenna was on my podcast back in the first season, because I was just getting Crushing Classical started. And I was like, one day I woke up, I was like, duh, Jenna, you're like the most entrepreneurial musician I know. Somebody who started a business back when people didn't do that. And
it was just a little thing, right? Just a thing I was doing on the side, because I was making reeds anyway. So like, why not send some out to other people? But then after my daughter was born, suddenly things slowed down a little bit, because you got to slow down when you have a little tiny baby. And my brain started getting restless. So I started writing, and I don't know why it occurred to me that I was not only going to write, but I was going to publish it on the internet. And like the early things that I did on that blog were just like, this is how I am at home with my baby. And this is how weird it feels to be, not performing this minute, or here's how weird it feels to like leave home and go and perform and then come back and there's a baby. And then I sort of kept writing, and I developed a little bit of a tiny following doing that. It was never big, and I always just shared it on my Facebook profile. But all around that same time in 2010, I started my Facebook professional page also. My idea being that instead of constantly haranguing people to show up for recitals that I was giving or performances that I was doing, I would have all of that centralized, so that I didn't have to talk about the oboe constantly for people who just like wanted to see baby pictures.
Right. And this is always the dilemma, right? How do you use your profile? These are my friends. And like, there's a dilemma there, and people ask me that all the time. And I think you can use them both, in conjunction. But still, like, there's a different vibe over on the profile. The profile is like, come in my living room. And the page is like, here's my storefront. So that's kind of what you set up. You set up your storefront.
That's exactly what I set up. So that I could talk about the oboe to people who like had opted in to hear about the oboe. And meanwhile, I could just be a person over on my profile. And like what's been the most fun is that over the last 10 years, as I've developed that and as I've developed my audience, like, again, I started it so fitfully, and all I ever did was post, here is a recital that I am going to do next week. Please come. But it's gotten so much more fun as I've developed the audience that likes what I like. And as I've gotten a lot more comfortable being upfront and being personal and being vulnerable sometimes. Like, I can post about things that didn't go well, or I can post about things that are feeling hard for me in the moment. And now I feel like I'm actually like a fully integrated person, because I can talk about whatever is going on my page, and I don't have to have like businessy or formal language there anymore. I've just sort of turned into me across all platforms in a way
And
that
that
is
took a while.
so much more. It took a long time. It took a really long time, and it took some coaching from you too. Like we worked together in your one of your audience building things, and a lot actually really became clear to me. Although I've been doing it for a really long time, and I've been developing it slowly, but you developed me faster.
That was what was so much fun about working with you, actually, because like I knew you knew how to build an audience because you had one coming in. But so much can happen like in the process of going, well, what if you do it like this? What if you do it like that? And then the concept of that you're a whole person. You're allowed to share all of that together.
Yes.
And
yes. Never
you love the tarot. You love tarot cards.
I do. I've loved it forever. And like all I would ever do is sort of hint at it on my blog, sort of in passing, and then like publish it with my publish it and hide, because I don't know why that felt so vulnerable to admit that that was a cool thing that I loved, but it did.
But then all of a sudden you realized people liked it too.
Yes, exactly. And briefly, I had a page, a Facebook page that I devoted to the tarot, again, so I could talk only to people who cared about like the intersection of the oboe and tarot. Turns out there are only like 50 people like that. But it also turns out that after that went away and I realized that I could actually just be fully myself on my basic Facebook page, I post something about tarot maybe every other week or so. I have a Tarot Tuesday thing. And people are liking it. And I put up a video like, I don't know, 6 months ago over on my YouTube platform where I've never talked about the tarot. And somebody in the comments like mentioned the tarot back to me. And I'm like, oh, there's somebody following me across platforms. Like it was so cool to realize that I was the same person in every place. I just had to like word it a little differently.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. And people always feel like that's a really big question for a lot of people I work with is like, but I do this thing and I do this thing and I do this thing. Should there be separate pages or how does that work? And I just say like who you are is all of those things. So your page can just be who you are. And you can focus on one thing or you can focus on another thing depending. Like on your page, you promote your programs, but then you also have your recital stuff and you've played videos played videos of previous recitals.
Oh, totally.
And then the tarot stuff and
yep.
You've even shared some pictures of your dog like while you're working and
sure.
I think it's great. It's part of getting to know somebody and everyone likes to see a peek behind scenes, you know?
Exactly. I feel like everyone wants to see a human being out there doing the thing. And so I've built this audience who will put up with like all of my various goofiness.
But they probably like put up with it. They love it. I mean, that's why they're there.
I hope so. That's what it feels like. That's what they lead me to feel. And it's been so much fun.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I just love it. So how would you say that your content has evolved over time? Like I know that you've kind of embraced bringing in some of your other parts of your personality in your page, but like have you started going more towards teaching or like, I know that like, for example, I know that you have 5-minute read maker. Like when did that come? When did you have the idea for that? And like, how has that worked for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing actually. The 5-minute read maker video series came about maybe 4 years ago or so. And it was just because I felt like I spent a lot of time in email talking to people about, people would email me in, not necessarily with questions about the reads they were making, although sometimes that, but more often with like, oh, I just got these reads from you and I like them, but what can I do to fix this? And so like over and over again, I would write the same like combination of words. I'm like, well, you say it's too hard. Is it too hard in the response or in the sustain? If it's in the response, you're going to want to work here and here and here. And if it's in the sustain, you're going to want to work in this way. And think about the pitch before you start, because maybe you want to do this instead. Right. But all of those same words over and over again. And I thought, you know what I could do here is just make a video series where I answered all of those questions. Yeah. And then it didn't take very long for me to realize how much fun that was. So I made a whole series of videos about like every step of the read making process. And 5 minutes literally came about because that is my tolerance for watching a YouTube video. am not actually that great a video consumer myself. I would rather listen to a podcast so I can be doing something else at the same time, or read something because I can read it much faster than I can see it. But people seem to like video, so I'm on video. And then the next thing that I noticed after I did that is that suddenly my read business went like berserk, because suddenly I was out there as an authority on read making, even though I was no smarter than I had ever been. But but suddenly people believed that I was.
Because they can see it and they can have an experience with you on video. So 2 things about that, which I love. Number 1, you paid attention to what your audience was doing via email. Like that was your audience too, email list.
Yeah, totally.
And they were emailing you and saying, we need this. They weren't saying that. They were saying, I have questions, I have questions, I have questions. So you reacted to that by creating something for your audience. So this is what I love to tell people, is that like, a lot of times you won't have ideas for things to build your audience until you start building the audience. Like it's kind of counterintuitive. You think, oh my gosh, what does my audience need? Who are they? What do they want? You can only get those answers by starting and putting content out there and doing something. And then they tell you, which is great, because then you can react to that. And then on top of that, building the authority, like you already have the authority inside you. And that's what I'm so excited about. Starting on June 1st, I'm doing a free free 5-day. It's a 5-day challenge.
Cool.
And the crux of it is discovering your own authority, the authority that you already have, and getting it out there. And it's going to be like a jumpstart your audience in 5 days. Cool. So I'm going to share the link in the comments. Actually, I can share the link right now.
Yeah, totally.
So anyone who's listening right now, oh yeah, it should be coming. Oh yeah, there it is. So anyone who's listening right now or later can sign up for this challenge, because it's going to be so much fun. You have to sign up because I'm gonna do it in a group. It's going to be super fun and engaging. And this is what we're going to dive into. So I love that you because you built the authority outside of you. Like you had the authority, but now you're sharing it with others on YouTube. Yes. Now your business grows. It's incredible.
Yes, exactly. Because now I'm internet famous.
You are though. You are.
I know. It got so fun. Okay, sorry. Go on.
That's so great. I love it. So so let's talk a little bit about Invincible Oboist, because I think this is so amazing. So last December was when I opened the doors to the visibility workshop, and Jenna was part of that program. And during it, she launched an amazing program called the Invincible Oboist. So tell us a little bit about the process of realizing that you could do something like this online.
Okay. As an oboist, our problem is always geography, right? There's never more than a couple of oboists in a given town. And so I have been trying for years to duplicate the energy of the summer program that I've been running. So years and years and years, I've been running Obo Read Boot Camp in the summer, where I get 10 or 15 oboists in a room, and for 12 hours over the weekend, we make reads, basically. And I can take people from having no read skills whatsoever to making a read that can play a 2-octave scale up and down on the oboe. They can make it within 20 minutes by the end of the session. And with I had always assumed when I started that program that it was going to be teenagers wanting to learn how to make reads, but it turned out that first a few, and then many, and then most of my people who came to Obo Read Boot Camp were people in midlife, people who had played the oboe in college and then put it down for 15 years to raise a family and then come back to it and wanted to be better, or that were in midlife and frustrated with the reads that they were able to make and not having control. And these are the people who had, it wasn't it's not a very expensive program, the Obo Read Boot Camp, but they had the money to spend on it, and they had the ability to take a weekend and come to South Bend. And I figure if I could get 15 people to come to South Bend from literally all over the country, why couldn't I have that much fun monthly? So I had tried for years to put together reading circles, which were just social read making, where I could get some people together in a room once a month in my house or at a college that I was teaching at and just make reads together. But I never could get critical mass because geography is a problem. There's never enough people in a given area. And it was, hi, Laura. And it kept not quite working. And it just sort of fizzled along and pedaled along for a long time. And it was right around December that Tracy pointed out to me that I already had an audience and I had people all over the world who were like watching my posts and watching my videos and like knew what I was doing. And I wondered if I couldn't get some of them in a room, a virtual room. And so I started the Invincible Oboist, which was a course that I ran for the first time back in February. It's a 10-week course designed to get oboists past the struggle so they could just find the ease and the joy in their playing again. And it's group-based because I love the energy of a group. It's basically aimed at grown-ups because I have been burned out after years and years of teaching like middle school and high school oboists, which is not to say that I haven't had fantastic students. I have. They've been wonderful. Some of them have gone on to absolutely great things. I'm so proud of all of my students, but I got so burned out 2 years ago that like I graduated a whole bunch of them and fired all of the rest because I just couldn't do anymore. That thing where like every Tuesday at 4:15, they show up with their solo this much improved over last week, and I say the same thing again, and then they go away. That the energy was not right in that for me anymore. But when I started the Invincible Oboist, suddenly in my first round, I had 6 people from literally all over the world who could play and wanted to be better and like were super committed and loved what they were doing. And so we had a fantastic time for 10 weeks doing like weekly classes and read classes and having a Facebook group and conversations every single day and posting like little playing snippets for each other. And the pandemic hit in the middle of it. And suddenly like we were all very proud that we had already been on Zoom and we all knew our way around it. But it was really just a fantastic experience. And yes, that is it. That is the thing that I put together in February and that I'm putting together again right now. I'm actually taking calls right now and screening people for the next run of the Invincible Oboist, which starts next week.
That's so fantastic. So it's so great because you moved into this space of teaching a group program online and you're doing it already before everybody said, oh, now I have to really do this because I can't meet together with people in person. So
yes,
you have the framework set up already. And then this was all possible because not only do you have an audience, but you have an audience who you know who they are, you know the demographic, and it's all from the work that you've done over time. So It's so fantastic. And if you're listening right now and you're an oboe player, you should definitely call Jenna. You know what? Later, after the broadcast is over, you could, if you want to, you could put your Calendly link or just kind of an email sign up, whatever you want in the comments too.
I would love to. I can't seem to do it from this side, but
okay. Well,
yeah, I'll toss it in after.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're an oboist, this is something that you could potentially get into. Check it out. But yeah, the point is, I love that you were able to create something that's like a big group program online and take people on an experience. And that all comes from the fact that you have an audience. So it was so fun, actually, Jenna, breaking this all down today because our interview that you had on Crushing Classical was so long ago. I think it was probably maybe 4 years ago already, or probably 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to hear like Jenna's whole story of starting her read business from like mailing letters with envelopes and stamps and stuff,
hand addressed to the people in the Chicago Union Book. Like that was the only way I could think of to start.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. You're such a go-getter. I just love it so much. So, and your page is called Jenna Dingle Oboist, correct?
That's right.
That's your Facebook page. Okay,
that's my Facebook
page. To tag you on it. Since we're using StreamYard, it wouldn't let me like tag you.
Yeah, things get weird sometimes with the Facebook page interface, and I can't like tag who I want always. But Jenna
Yeah.
Dingle Oboist is where to find me on Facebook, and
Awesome.
yeah, and the 5 Minute Read Maker on YouTube.
Yay! Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenna. This has been so much fun. And I just want to plug one more time that my 5-day free challenge is happening June 1st through 5th. You need to sign up, and the sign up link is in the comments. So, and if I can, I'll pin that, but I'm not sure if I can do that. But that's where it is. And I will, and tomorrow, I'll be back on Facebook Live with a guy named James Dargan, who has like such cool point of view about audience building and really being yourself and putting yourself out there in a way that I think I love the idea of talking about that with him, because his example is so extreme. Like most people are afraid to share like little bits and pieces about themselves, and he just goes for it. And so we're going to talk about like what that's like to really put your opinions out there and actually be like an activist as a musician, and how that's evolved his career. It's super cool because he really, by kind of thinking and doing in this way, created an entirely like unique career where he sings repertoire that's really in alignment with who he is and what he wants to say to people. And so cool. I think it's super inspiring. And so he's going to be tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And there might be another I'm waiting to hear back from a couple other people to see what happens with other interviews. Cool. So, but thank you so much, Jenna. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening. Keep your eye out this week for 2 more episodes coming in this series, Your Career Evolution and the Power of an Audience. Wednesday, you'll hear from Chloe Trevor, the violinist and Instagram sensation, on how growing a massive audience on Instagram helped her launch her very own music academy. And on Friday, you'll hear my conversation with James Dargan, baritone, poet, composer, violinist, and activist, on being truly yourself online and how that leads to new opportunities and creating a career you love. Remember to sign up for my free 5-day challenge, From Onstage to Online Empire. It starts June 1st. Sign up link is in the show notes.